for your support for my work. Please hit the subscribe button and the bell icon if you haven't. Also hit the like button for YouTube algorithm. And let me know what you think of the video in the comment section below. Lastly, please share love of this content with the world. Oh, by the way, you can read the timestamp inside the description below and follow me on social media. Arigato. This is Songwriters Room, and I'm your host, Tomoko. Today's guest is Keith Thompson. Keith Thompson is a composer, arranger, and musical director. His prestigious music career credits include musical director and conductor for the Las Vegas companies of Jersey Boys at the Palazzo, The Producers at the Paris, Hairspray at the Luxor, and for the North American premiere of the hit musical We Will Rock You, which also ran at the Paris Las Vegas. As the conductor and musical director for the first national tours of Mamma Mia and Cabaret, Keith directed stars such as Terry Hatcher, Lee Thompson, and Tony Award winner Norbert Leo Butz in lead roles. He supervised the music for the Australian production of Cabaret in Sydney and won the $2,000 award as musical director of Cabaret in Toronto. Other national tours he has conducted include Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat with Danny Osmond, Peter Pan with Kathy Rigby, Jesus Christ Superstar with Carl Anderson and Ted Neely, and concert tours for Sarah Brightman and Jennifer Lewis. In addition, his New York credits include Les Miserables, When Pigs Fly, and Little Shops of Horrors. His original comedy novelty song review, Cookie Tunes, completed a successful extended engagement at New York's Laurie Beechman Theater, followed by an Australian tour. And its 2002 cast recording is currently available on Amazon. He also composed White Lies, Douglas Carter's Beans Off-Broadway review, as well as dozens of other award-winning songs. He was also the vocal director and arranger for Roundhouse, a television series aired on the Nickelodeon network, and adjunct professor in the musical theater program at NYU, where he conducted, arranged, and supervised music for dozens of shows. His original show, God Lives in Glass, premiered at NYU's Provincetown Playhouse in Greenwich Village and has been presented regionally and in concert nationwide. He was the composer with longtime collaborator Buddy Sheffield for the comedy musical Idaho. Keith is also the producer and the host of the Composer Showcase of Las Vegas, which is a well-respected popular monthly show at Smith Center for 14 years, where I had an honor to perform in January this year. Currently, all shows are closed, but the Composer Showcase is now ongoing, and Keith is busy making many plans to tour Cocktail Cabaret, so this is going to be an interesting conversation. Can I get a whoop whoop?
Me?
So, ladies and gents, please welcome Keith Thompson!
All right, whoa, yeah. Hi, Tomoko, it's very nice to be here.
Nice to see you. I love your background, the wine books.
I like wine just a little bit.
I hear that. So, Keith, you are not just a songwriter. You are a producer, poser, conductor, and bring so much joy to people by creating and conducting wonderful musicals. How did it all start?
That's a good question. When I was young, I was the son of a preacher in the Deep South, in Alabama, in Florida, Louisiana, places like that. We lived, and so all the music I did was church music. But as a writer, it was something I did instinctively. I played piano and I sang, and I started writing little pieces of music. And back then I had a little notepad and I would write things out. And it wasn't any good, but it needed to come out of me, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I started doing that kind of stuff. And because most of my background was church, I spent a lot of time in church. When I was in junior high school, I was around some church musicals. musicals that were like cantatas and things like that. And I really was fascinated by the way that they were constructed. So when I was in high school, I wrote 2 different church musicals and produced them with members of my choir in high school, and also the choirs in the churches that I would go to. And I would organize all the people and direct it and get people to light it and do sound. And we performed, we actually presented it in concert several times. And so it was something that I just did.
How old were you at the time?
16, 15, something like that.
Wow.
So then when I went to college, I went strictly for music. Because back then you didn't have musical theater programs. You just had music or theater, and you weren't allowed to talk to each other. But most of my friends, even though I was in the music department studying composition and theory and piano performance, most of my friends were over in the theater department because they were more fun. And so we could laugh, and my interest became much more grounded in musical theater. So my freshman and sophomore years in college, I wrote 2 different musicals, and they got produced, and we started a summer musical theater, like a dinner theater, in my college that this year would have celebrated its 45th anniversary, but we started it back in 1975.
Wow.
Whenever I started in college, and I went to college when I was like 16, so, I went early. Just something I did, right, all through college. And then shortly after college, about 1980, I moved to New York City to follow my dream to be in the musical theater.
Of course.
Then it became more about doing the musical direction and arranging and being the conductor for different shows. And that was how I was building that career. And then at the same time, I was writing songs with a friend of mine who came with me to New York from Mississippi. He was a really funny person, so we would write funny songs for him. I'm not funny.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
But when I know funny people and they inspire me, I can write funny songs. I can write things like that I think that they would say or do, or write funny.
Interesting.
So that's how that all started to happen. And then Kooky Tunes, the show, came about whenever, after we'd written so many songs together over the course of about 10 years, we looked at each other one day and we said, don't we have enough for like a best of yet? And we said, yeah, we kind of do. So we put it together and made it into a show, and that got produced off Broadway. And then I had a couple of other opportunities to write and produce stuff off Broadway. And before you know it, that all happened. But in New York, I was mostly doing musical direction. I was mostly, because that was paying the bills. So I was getting jobs on national tours and things like that. Still always writing, but letting other people hire me to do something else. Mm-hmm. In 2004, I got an offer to come to Las Vegas to work as a musical director for We Will Rock You, the Queen musical. And I really had no intention of saying yes to that, because I couldn't imagine myself in Las Vegas. It just didn't make any sense to me. But I did the interview and audition, and they said, yeah, we want you to do it. And I had to make a decision right there on the spot. And so I decided, well, okay, I guess I can try this. And so I did, and the rest is history. So then once I got here, things started to change for me, because I started to realize that I couldn't wait for other people to do it for me. Like, if you're in Las Vegas, you really have to figure out how to be a self-starter. You got to figure out how to generate the work. Nothing like New York. Not at all. Not at all. So that was an eye-opener for me, but I stepped up because I guess over the years I just kind of developed those skills, how to bring people together, how to organize things, how to work with a budget and things like that. So that's how kind of it all came together. The Composer Showcase was a lifeline to me, because it was a way to organize things, produce a show, and make it all about original music. So it gave me an opportunity to continue to write. Yes. And to reach out to other writers and bring them together to the table. And there was nothing else like it, certainly not in Las Vegas. And there's not very much like it in the nation. I mean, there's a few pockets of kind of things like it. But what I will say this, because of our community, the Las Vegas artistic community, they're so supportive and they're so eager and hungry to be a part of things that we all kind of jump in it together. So it's a real feeling of community and camaraderie that I had never experienced before. And that alone really kind of drove the tone and the nature of what we started out with in 2006, our first one was. And 14 years later, the Smith Center happened, and then when we moved there, it uplifted the whole vision of everything. And then about 3 years ago, I applied for nonprofit status and got that, really about the business of establishing scholarships to encourage young writers just to continue their educations and their craft. And also when, of course, then COVID-19 happened, and my God, shut down everything. So we've been using the nonprofit as a way to get donations from people and then channel them into the community for the people in our community who are in need. So we have a fund that we have that you can go to our website and apply for financial assistance. And if we've got the donations, we send them right out to the people, right out to the members of our community who are in need. So I want to make sure everybody knows that.
That's remarkable. Las Vegas really needed you.
I guess so. I think, when there's a plan in place and you don't see it when you're in the middle of it, but the universe knows what's going on and knows where you'll be in 10 years, that I can see all that kind of coming together for me as I moved here, never expecting to come to Las Vegas and then to love it and then to thrive and then to be able to be part of a community that is just so wonderful. So
you are blessed. But I must say, when people think of Las Vegas, you think entertainment capital of the nation. It's actually really not. It's no original music.
Very little. They always tell you, they say, sing the songs people know. They only want to hear the cover songs. And that's something that was really interesting for me, because I would do a whole evening of nothing but original music, and people were like crazy for it. They were like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
Yes.
And it just completely went against the convention of what they think works in Las Vegas. What they tell you works, but no one will take a risk on it. So we were doing it at the Smith Center, which is more about art than it is about casinos and gambling and pulling, tourists and all that stuff. So we had a lovely platform to be able to explore this.
Your work is always about teamwork. Is it kind of addictive working with such first-class talents to make this whole piece of work come into shape, or there are a lot of dramas and headaches at the same time?
It's so funny. We've had so little drama. We have the understanding, first of all, I have a team in place of people, volunteers, who come to help me stage manage, like a stage crew, who help us move the show along, and they're all volunteers, and they're there because they just are having a great time, and they love being a part of the effort. They know that no one is paid, especially me, their original music. With that said, every once in a while, there will be some, like a friction between maybe the sound guy and one of the artists who comes in and says, oh, I want to bring my own gigantic amplifier and put it on the stage. And he'll say, can't do that because we have an amplifier and you've got 15 other acts. We can't have your big amplifier right there in the middle of the stage. So we've had a few things like that, but we always work them out. And considering it's been 8 years at the Smith Center and 14 years total, there almost none. I mean, like I would say drama, as far as like problems, maybe, 2% of the time. That's pretty good.
Okay. So through and all, from New York, Alabama, Louisiana to Las Vegas, what are the most memorable moments that you remember, either often on stage?
In New York, most of my memorable moments had to do with either something that I had written being produced and watching it happen on an opening night. I had the opportunity to play for, a few stars, or at least they were stars to me. When I was younger, there was a woman named Dorothy Loudon who played Mrs. Hannigan in Annie, the musical. And I remember seeing her on stage before I even moved to New York. And then when I got there, I had the opportunity to play for her in concert. And I was like, I've kind of died and gone to heaven here because I'm playing for somebody that I just thought was amazing. As far as moving to Las Vegas, I came to do We Will Rock You, which was with the rock group Queen.
Yes.
And we worked with them. They were here. I mean, Freddie Mercury had already died, but
they were hands-on with the show. And then there was a big party opening night and all this rock and roll royalty was there.
And this is kind of amazing. mean, I got to do Hairspray with Harvey Firestein and Dick Latessa, who was already a friend of mine. And they were the people who won Tonys for it on Broadway. And then I got to do the producers with David Hasselhoff, of all people. That was really fun. But I got to work with Susan Stroman, who was a big major Broadway director who I never even met when I was in New York. And then she came out to Las Vegas and directed the show that we did. So that was kind of cool. So there's been highlights all the way. And then, of course, Jersey Boys. I mean, there's nothing to say about Jersey Boys, but what an amazing show. What a great opportunity to be part of that team and to have a show that ran here in Las Vegas for 8.5 years.
Do you happen to know Jeff Ray?
Yeah. What are you talking about, the guitar player?
Yes.
And he died.
Yes.
Yeah, he got hit by a train.
Yes, I know. He was my good friend. I was in the same band in Harlem, New York.
Oh, okay. Yes, he was my good friend too. He was like on my band. And he took the weekend off to go up to Washington to do a gig.
Yes.
And without doing a photo shoot on the railroad tracks. Oh my God.
Unbelievable.
Oh. Yes, it was. That was a heartbreaking moment. A real heartbreaking moment. I mean, because we couldn't believe it. I found out about it during the middle of a show. And I almost couldn't function, you know. It was just so heartbreaking.
He was so young and promised and...
Oh, so good. He was he had come through so much adversity, you know. He'd really, and come out on top. He was really in a bad place at one point in his career when he was in New York, and he came out to Vegas and he was really doing well and he was excelling and then just in the wrong place at the wrong time and he got hit by a train. And what do you say, you know? That's
just unbelievable. Hi, Jeff.
Hello, Jeff. He's listening. Hi, Jeff.
I know. Some people just go too fast.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Wow. So what do you love most about musicals?
I think the thing I like most about doing musicals is the collaborative process. I bring what I bring to the table. The choreographer, the director, they bring what they bring to the table, the performers, and we all are kind of working toward the same goal. And, you know, they say, there's an old saying, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Mm-hmm. That's really something you experience in real time when you're doing musicals. And I really miss doing them right now because we're not able to. And you really everybody in our business is looking around going, how are we going to do this? Because it's just such a huge part of who we are. And it's one thing to be a soloist and to only do your own thing all the time. And it's another thing to focus all your energy collectively toward one purpose. So that's what I think, and it also teaches humility, just cooperation, you know. You're
so humble and people appreciate, you know, your energy. And that's important.
Yeah, I learned a long time ago. It's like, you know, I ain't all that. You know, I'm me and I bring to the table what I bring. And I'm confident that what I bring is the best that I can do. And so since that's all I can do really is my best and continue to always try to be my best, I don't bring into my world a lot of insecurity. And I think insecurity is probably the thing that kind of gets people the most, because if you're insecure about what you do, then you're not sure how other people are viewing you or judging you. And then, you know, then doubts come in. It's human. It's human to feel that way. But at the same time, I think if more people would just focus on just realizing this is me, this is what I am, this is who I am, this is what I can do, and it is either good enough or not good enough, but what can I do about that? As long as I'm me, as long as I'm real and authentic and true to myself. So that's the way I try to live, and there's no room for anything but humility. I'm humbled all the time by the beautiful talent that's all around me, the wonderful people, the joy that I get in sharing their talent with other people. It's really a special gift to me.
That's beautiful. Now let's get to the second part of the show, meat of the songwriting.
Okay.
I hope you enjoyed part 1. Please continue to watch part 2 about songwriting as well. And don't forget to click subscribe and hit the bell to get notified about new videos of Songwriters Room, my new music, or Japanese series. Arigato!